How's it going, everybody? My name is Noah Holly, and welcome back to another episode of the Pride Report. It is episode 12, and I'm coming at you once again from my MacBook because I still can't get my printer to work. I actually quite like this setup, however. It makes it so much easier to access information during recording. I'll see how it goes, I guess. But anyway, I hope to get my printer working, and I hope to be able to bring the quality back to 1920, 1080. But unfortunately, that is just not possible right now, so bear with me for yet another week filming from my laptop. Anyway, today is going to be a shorter edition of the Monday show as it is a holiday and everyone I know has the day off, so I don't have as much time as I usually do. I'm going to be discussing a lot of different things, but scaling back on each segment in terms of longevity. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Let's take a look at the latest edition of the AP poll. Villanova will stay at number 1, while Virginia, Purdue, Oklahoma, and Duke round out the top 5. The Big Ten has 2 new additions to the top 25 in Ohio State and Michigan, while Florida State and Creighton are the 2 teams that drop out. Michigan State dropped out of the top 5 down to number 9 after losing to Michigan on Saturday. Arizona State was another team that suffered a big week-to-week drop. I'll put the poll in the description below if you want to look at it in its entirety. Who were the winners and losers of the past week? Which players stood out the most? Welcome to this Monday's Weekly Reset. Let's kick off this segment with our team of the week, the Michigan Wolverines. Michigan rebounded from a controversial loss to 5th-ranked Purdue on their home floor early last week by going on the road and handling arch-rival Michigan State on Saturday. The Wolverines weren't perfect, obviously, but their strong showings against some of the nation's best solidified their status as one of the better teams in the Big Ten. You get the feeling that this bunch won't be needing a deep run in their conference tournament to comfortably make the big dance this season. This week's biggest loser is Arizona State. The Sun Devils lost to Oregon on their home floor earlier in the week and nearly followed that up with another stunning home loss, edging Oregon State by just 2 points on Saturday and needing a big-time run late in the game to do so. Arizona State has been severely disappointing in Pac-12 play, sitting at 2-3 with their only wins coming in nail-biters over Utah and the Beavers. Don't get me wrong, ASU is a good team. No one is going to want to run into this backcourt come March, but they're definitely coming back down to earth a little bit. Realistically, this is more of a fringe top 25 team than a top 10 team, something that I believe we will begin to see reflected in the polls over the next handful of weeks. Last week's biggest storyline was the De'Anthony Melton situation. I considered covering this in a news brief at the beginning of the episode, but I figured that it would make more sense if I talked about it here instead. If you don't know what happened, I'll quickly fill you in. It was announced last week that Melton, USC's heralded freshman, will not play at all for Southern California this season due to a potential issue regarding eligibility, or in other terms, reported FBI findings of infringement in the recruiting process. A family friend of the Meltons apparently accepted $5,000 to steer Melton to a certain agent once he entered the NBA draft. The catch is that USC is suspending Melton, not the NCAA. And as you can imagine, USC players are very fired up at their athletic department for making this decision. Chimezie Metu, the star of the team, tweeted this on the 11th. Punishing innocent people, he wrote, "I see what y'all on now at USC_athletics. He followed that up with yet another harshly worded stab at the program that I will put on screen now. It's going to be interesting to see how USC responds to this. Perhaps it will serve as a jolt to a team in badly in need of one, or maybe the Trojans are going to wilt even further. Judging by last night's performance, perhaps the former is going to be the case, but of course we're going to have to wait and see. All in all, what a horrible situation for Melton and USC as a team. It really isn't fair that Melton will probably never play college basketball, especially considering he's literally an innocent man. The incident in question has nothing that directly involves Melton himself. I really feel like USC mishandled the situation. Anyway, let's move on and recap Saturday's action. Now let's take a look at every notable game that went down over the past weekend. The new format for the Saturday and Sunday recap is going to be me running through the top 25 to briefly recap each game and stopping to go in-depth on the bigger ones. All rankings are of last week. Top-ranked Villanova held off St. John's at a Madison Square Garden loaded with Wildcats fans. Dante DiVincenzo hit 6 3-pointers en route to a 25-point performance, and Nova won despite Shamorie Ponds' career night. Ponds had 37 points in the Red Storm's first game since learning that Ponds' backcourt mate Marcus Levette was done for the season with a knee injury. 8th-ranked Texas Tech pulled away late to edge 2nd-ranked West Virginia 72-71, What a monumental season-defining win for the Red Raiders, who ended the Mountaineers' nation's best 15-game win streak. Keenan Evans and Brandon Francis had 20 and 17 respectively, and the athletic Zaire Smith snatched 8 rebounds. Remember that name, Zaire Smith, because he is going to be a superstar a few years down the road. Texas Tech fans are fielding some heat on social media for rushing the court as an 8th-ranked team, but I could care less, honestly. Texas Tech has never really been in the position of a top-ranked team, and I don't think they've ever had a win this big, so I more or less expected it. Michigan knocked off number 4 Michigan State, which wrapped up a rough week for the Spartans. Mo Wagner muscled his way to a career-high 27 points for the Wolverines. Xavier Simpson had 16, and Michigan used a big second half to pull away and earn a huge road win. Michigan State had no answer for Wagner, who dominated from start to finish. It was another disappointing performance for the Spartans, which nearly lost to Rutgers earlier in the week. They just look out of sync on both ends of the floor right now. Purdue pounded Minnesota 81-47. These guys are no joke, man. The Boilermakers may very well be the best team in the country right now. I would honestly say that Purdue is more balanced than both Villanova and Virginia. I really think that these guys are in position to do some big things this year. Wichita State, the other number 5 team, narrowly defeated then 10-7 Tulsa 72-69. Tulsa missed a 3-pointer at the buzzer, and Wichita State survived their first true challenge in the American Athletic Conference slate. 7th-ranked Duke hammered Wake Forest 89-71. Coach K was unable to coach due to illness, but the Blue Devils managed just fine. Marvin Bagley had a monster night, scoring 30 and grabbing 11 rebounds. Wake was simply overmatched by an undermanned Duke squad that was missing its coach and 2 front court reserves. Number 9, Oklahoma knocked off number 16 TCU 102-97 in overtime, polishing off a hard-earned sweep of the Horned Frogs. Trae Young had possibly the best performance of his career. He had a triple-double with 43 points. It's technically a quadruple-double if you account for his 10 three-pointers. Either way, he just dazzled from start to finish, hitting shots like I have never seen before in college basketball. I know that I say this about a million times a show, but he is just unlike anything I have ever seen. 10th-ranked Xavier broke out of their recent slump in a big way on Saturday, hammering Creighton 92-70 behind 24 from Trayvon Blewett. Xavier needed this in a big way to regain their confidence, which was suffering a little bit after they had been embarrassed by Villanova earlier in the week. Number 11, Arizona State needed a furious second-half rally to avoid losing to an unranked opponent on their home court for the second game in a row. The Sun Devils survived a 4-point, field goal performance from superstar point guard Trey Holder to beat Oregon State 77-75. Shannon Evans stepped up for ASU, scoring 22 points. Stephen Thompson Jr. had 21 for Oregon State, who fell to 10-7 on the year. Number 12, Kansas edged Kansas State 73-72 after Barry Brown missed a 3-pointer at the buzzer. The Jayhawks survived a serious challenge from their rivals for the second year in a row. Devontae Graham had 23 for Kansas. 13th-ranked Seton Hall beat Georgetown to get back on track after losing to Marquette earlier in the week. Number 14, Cincinnati hammered South Florida. The Bearcats have been playing really good basketball as of late. Also, 15th-ranked Gonzaga came out on top over San Francisco. Number 21, Kentucky knocked off Vanderbilt, who had a chance to win after Riley LaChance was fouled from behind the arc in the final minute, but LaChance missed all 3 free throws, effectively ending any opportunity Vandy had to pull off the upset. Kentucky survived yet another scare in the SEC. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who I think is capable of putting this team on his back on a nightly basis, did exactly that, scoring 22. 22nd-ranked Auburn rallied from another double-digit first-half deficit to beat Mississippi State 76-68. Florida State held off Syracuse 101-90 in double overtime, and Tennessee dropped Texas A&M to 0-5 in SEC play behind another strong defensive performance. There was only one ranked matchup on Sunday, and that was Virginia taking on NC State. The Wahoos made it clear early on that they weren't intending on becoming NC State's 3rd upset victim in their past 3 games, and they knocked off the Wolfpack 68-51. I'm obviously crazy biased about this team, judging by my sweatshirt here, go Hoos, but holy mackerel, Virginia is so tough on defense this year. I mean, they are every year, but it feels like this year especially. Tony Bennett is one of the best coaches in college basketball, and I really don't think that's even up for debate at this point. If I messed up any of those scores, I sincerely apologize. I hope you like the new rapid-fire format for the Saturday recap. Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Anyway, let's go ahead and move right along to tonight's previews. Big Monday is back. Duke is going to take on Miami tonight in the first game of a huge doubleheader on ESPN. Duke has fallen on the road to Boston College and NC State in ACC play, earning only one away from home win in the conference, which came against Pittsburgh, one of the worst major conference teams in the country. Miami is going to come into tonight's game off of a loss to Clemson. The Hurricanes have lost 2 of their last 3, with the lone win coming over Florida State. You may think Duke is hard to figure out this season considering their 2 surprising losses, but I don't think that's the case. Any Blue Devils team in the history of basketball is going to lose anywhere from 1 to a handful of games on the road that they, in theory, probably shouldn't. No one seems to take into account coming into conference play that Duke is going to get every team's A game on the road. The environment is going to be extremely hostile everywhere they go in ACC play, or everywhere they go in general, but ACC play especially, and that's just what comes with being a brand name like Duke. I feel like I've talked about that a million times on this show, so I'm just going to go ahead and move right along to the next game, which is number 10 Kansas at number 6 West Virginia. I cannot wait for this one. It's going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. West Virginia looks like the team to beat in the Big 12 this year, but the road to a title in this conference runs through Kansas. Both teams are part of a 4-way tie atop the Big 12 standings. It's going to be quite the battle to break that tie tonight. West Virginia has Issa Ahmad back, returned on Saturday, and played like he had missed no time at all, scoring 18 in his season debut against Texas Tech. To think that West Virginia went 15-1 without their second best player puts into perspective just how good this team is. Kansas is going to have a very tough time on the road tonight. I think that the Mountaineers are going to bounce back and take this one. I anticipate that they will be refocused and play with a chip on their shoulder. As big as the Texas Tech game was, this one is even bigger. I cannot wait for it. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode of the Pride Report. I'm assuming that it was a long one despite my numerous efforts to make it not as long as usual. So if you watched it to the end, I truly appreciate it. If you liked it, I hope that you spread the word by retweeting the link to this show on Twitter or by following us on Twitter at CPP Pride Report. However you can, it does not matter. It will all be equally appreciated. Be sure to join me tomorrow for episode 13. I'll be revealing my first bracketology of the year as well as recapping tonight's games. But for now, I'm running a bit late, so I'm going to end today's show right here. I'm out. I will see you later.